Fat Dad, the coffee and cigarette diet. My dad's face lit up as he placed the engraved linen envelope on the table. We were to be guests at the annual pool party at his boss's home in East Hampton, New York. Not only were we invited for dinner, we were invited to stay for the whole glorious weekend. Our host was my dad's boss at the McCann Erickson ad agency, where he was a new creative director. Getting an invitation to his house was more than a polite formality, it was an honor. His family lived on Park Avenue, summered in the Hamptons, and lived by the Emily Post School of Etiquette. My family never summered anywhere. We didn't dress for dinner, we didn't play golf or tennis, and no one in my family had ever studied Latin or carried a monogrammed bag. While my dad was flattered, the pressure that accompanied the invitation was huge. His weight had ballooned to almost 400 pounds since landing the job, thanks in part to the decadent three-course client lunches and late-night strategy dinners. In the office, people were focused on my dad's marketing ideas, but in the Hamptons, my dad said appearances were everything, and there was no hiding behind his creative storyboards and well-thought-out campaigns. He would be presenting my mom, my little sister, April, and me, and showing himself in a more vulnerable setting. The month leading up to the Hamptons trip was filled with anxiety. My mom and I rushed around shopping for the perfect outfits, and my dad, determined to fit into a bathing suit, starved himself, declaring he was on the supermodel diet, which consisted of hot coffee, cold coffee, coffee shakes, coffee bread, unlimited cigarettes and water. Even at 10 years old, I knew this was not healthy. I had read the many nutrition and diet books that filled every bookshelf in our house. Each week a new diet, a new promise for miracle results. All the actresses and dancers in my commercials swear by this one, my dad said. They say substituting a zero-calorie cigarette for lunch helps them stay camera-ready, he added. Seeing how worried I was, my dad declared he had never had so much energy, begging my sister and me to try to tag him while he ran up and down the halls of our apartment, not even tempted to take a peek at the diet bread I had just baked for him, adding the required 3/4 of a cup of coffee to my ingredient list. After successfully losing over 20 pounds on the coffee and cigarette diet in a couple of weeks, my dad headed to Mr. Big and Tall on 8th Avenue for a couple of items before picking up the Hertz rent-a-car. My dad was proud of his new lime green Bermuda shorts with pictures of palm trees. As we drove to the Hamptons in our beach clothes, my parents argued because my mom, who was in charge of directions, kept navigating us the wrong way. When we finally made it off the highway, my parents became calmer, admiring the quaint churches, old houses and windmills planted on village greens. Arriving hot and disheveled after our long drive, we were greeted by my father's boss's wife, who was wearing a neatly pressed blue Pucci cocktail dress, adorned with a single strand of pearls. Tucking her coiffed blonde hair behind her ears, she offered us iced tea with orange slices and led us to the backyard. It was like no pool party I had ever been to, and I wondered if anyone was actually planning to swim.